The adoption wing of Helion Crown Station opened with a soft chime. Bright doors slid wide, releasing clean air that smelled faintly of citrus. The room was perfect, quiet, spotless, almost too clean for a place filled with children waiting for someone to choose them. Taran's soul stepped inside with a steady walk and a tablet tucked under his arm. He was supposed to be here for work, observe how orphaned children behaved around visitors, and write a calm report later. Nothing more. 1 hour, he told himself. Rows of soft cushions filled the center. Children sat in neat lines, hands on their laps, eyes shifting whenever families walked by. Above each child floated a small blue holo tag showing their name, species, and age, like labels on display items. Families walked slow circles, whispering, pointing, stopping at some children, ignoring others. Most moved past without a second glance. Taran watched, his jaw tight. The lights were bright, the room controlled, but something felt wrong, like the silence was hiding fear. Then he saw her. A tiny girl sat alone at the far end. Violet skin, white tangled hair, a lilac tunic slipping off her thin shoulder every few seconds. She tugged it back with quiet, tired hands. Her sandals were worn almost through. Her holotag turned above her. Sani, Orini hybrid, age 6. Her head was bent low. She whispered into her tunic, voice barely a breath. Nobody wants to adopt me. They always walk past. The words were soft, but Taran heard them clearly. They hit him like a strike to the chest. He stopped. Old instincts rose, the same sharp focus he used to feel before a military breach. Move. Act. Don't look away. There was no danger here. Only a child who had already given up on being seen. Taran crossed the room toward her. On the side wall, a woman noticed him. Nara, station caseworker. Bronze gold skin, dark hair streaked with turquoise. A charcoal uniform faded from long hours. She knew him from past evaluations. On paper he was simple. Ex-Marine, human, behavior counselor. Reliable. But right now, she saw something different in his eyes. Taran crouched in front of the girl. Slow. Gentle. Boots planted firmly. He met her pale blue eyes. Eyes that looked startled just from being acknowledged. Hey, he said softly. You look tired of being invisible. She flinched. Her fingers twisted the tunic. She expected him to leave like the others. They don't pick me, she whispered. They see my file and walk faster. A cold anger slid down Taran's spine. Quiet, sharp, controlled. They're wrong, he said. I see you. Her breath caught. Nara walked closer. Good afternoon. I'm Nara. I handle Orini hybrid cases. Taran stood. Taran's soul. I came to observe, but I heard her. Nara felt the air change. Adults rarely stepped toward the difficult cases. This was new. Taran looked at Sani again. If I wanted to change that nobody, he asked, voice steady. Where do I start? Silence stretched. Nara swallowed once. First step is a provisional bond application, she said. If you start it, the council will test you. They'll watch everything. Taran didn't blink. Good, he said. Let them watch me stay. The lights inside the adoption hall dimmed slightly, signaling the end of visiting hours. Families began drifting toward the exit. Children braced themselves for the familiar sting of disappointment. But Sani didn't look at the doors. She looked only at Taran. He watched her tiny hands tremble as the noise level rose around them. A metal cup clattered from across the room. Just a small accident, a child dropping something. But Sani flinched so hard her whole body jerked. Without thinking, Taran moved a half step in front of her. No touching, just placing his solid frame between her and the sound. A human shield. Her breathing eased, though her hands stayed clenched. Nara felt her chest tighten. She had seen hundreds of potential guardians come and go. None had reacted like this. Automatic protection, no hesitation, no awkwardness. It was instinct, not performance. Sani tugged lightly on Taran's sleeve. You'll leave too, won't you? She whispered. Everyone leaves at closing. Taran crouched again, keeping his voice calm and steady. Not if you want me to stay. Her eyes widened, confused by the idea that she had a choice. Nara cleared her throat, trying to keep things professional. If you want to pursue this, Taran, I need to register your details. Do it, he said immediately. Nara blinked. She wasn't used to anyone answering that fast. They walked to a small side console, Sani gripping two of Taran's fingers like they were the last solid things in the world. Nara activated the console. Full name. Taran's soul. Occupation. Behavior counselor. Support network? She asked, hesitating. Who helps you if you get sick or overwhelmed? It affects approval. Taran didn't lie. I have no family on the station. Nara tapped her fingers, thinking. She knew the system. A single human male adopting a fragile hybrid girl would be watched like a threat. Then she surprised even herself. You can add me, she said quietly. Taran looked up, startled. You're sure? They monitor me anyway, Nara said. At least this way, it helps her. Scifi leaned her forehead against Taran's arm. Not a hug, not a cling, just a small touch that said don't disappear. Nara hit the final confirmation. A soft green glow circled the screen. Provisional bond recorded. Scifi gasped softly. What does that mean? She whispered. It means, Taran said, I come back tomorrow. And the next day? And the next? Her small voice trembled. You won't stop coming? Not unless you tell me to, he said. She shook her head fast, fearful he might think she could ever ask that. No, don't stop. Nara turned off the console and stepped back. The council will test your commitment tomorrow. Early morning interview. Fine, Taran said. Scifi tugged his sleeve again. Can you walk me to my dorm? Please. Of course, he said. They walked through the station's long corridor, lights shifting warm as nighttime approached. People stared. A human man walking with a hybrid child holding onto him like he was her lifeline. Some faces showed curiosity. Some judgment. Scifi shrank closer every time a stranger looked too long. Taran lowered his voice. Ignore them. They don't matter. At the dorm entrance, a caretaker waited. Nara stepped forward to take Scifi inside. Scifi didn't move. She stayed glued to Taran's side. Will you really be here tomorrow? She whispered. Taran knelt one last time. I don't break promises, he said. Scifi searched his face, looking for any cracks, any sign this was temporary. She found none. Slowly, very slowly, she let go of his sleeve. Nara guided her inside. But just before the door slid shut, Scifi looked back one last time. Taran lifted his hand. She lifted hers. Only then did she let the door close. Taran arrived at the children's dorm long before the station lights reached full brightness. The hall was quiet, too quiet for a busy orbiting city. Morning cleaning drones hummed along the walls, and caretakers whispered reports between shifts. He stood outside the dorm door, holding a small insulated container. Inside it, warm crispy meat strips and a bottle of thick fruit nectar. Food she liked. Real food, not station packets. He pressed the request panel. Nara appeared on the other side of the door. Her hair was damp, tied low on her neck. She wasn't in her uniform yet, just a simple dark shirt and a teal wrap around her waist. She blinked once, surprised. You're early, she said. I couldn't wait at home, Taran answered. She stepped aside. Come in. She's awake. She didn't touch the breakfast tray. He entered the dim dorm. Children still slept in small cubicles. Low lights gave the room a soft golden glow. In a tiny alcove at the back, Scifi sat on her bunk, knees hugged to her chest, white hair covering half her face. She wore a clean tunic, still too big for her small frame. The moment she saw Taran, her entire posture changed. Her shoulders dropped. Her face softened. Her breathing eased. You came back, she whispered. Of course I did, he said. She slid off the bunk, walking carefully, as if unsure the floor was safe. She stopped just inches from him, close enough to feel his warmth, but too scared to touch without permission. You ready for the interviews? He asked. She hesitated. They ask a lot of questions. We'll answer together, he said. Her eyes drifted to the container in his hand. Is that food? He opened the lid. Steam rose into the air. The crispy edges of the meat strips gleamed under the warm light. Her throat tightened. Kids like her learn not to grab things too fast. Taran knelt and held the container low enough for her to smell it. Eat, he said. Start the day strong. She took one small piece, carefully, and bit into it. The crisp snapped softly. She closed her eyes. Relief washed over her face. She ate slowly at first, then faster. Taran handed her the nectar bottle. She drank with both hands around it. Nara watched them quietly from behind, arms folded. Her eyes softened despite her stiff posture. We should go soon, Nara said. Arriving early makes the inspectors less suspicious. Scifi wiped her mouth. Can I walk on your left side? The right side feels loud. You can walk wherever you feel safe, Taran said. Nara put on her uniform tunic, adjusting it with practiced movements. Both of you stay close to me during the walk. The administrative hall gets crowded. They stepped into the corridor. The morning rush had started. Workers heading to shifts, technicians rolling carts, vendors wheeling breakfast trays. People looked at them. Some curious, some judging, some staying too long with their stare. Scifi pressed closer to Turan, gripping two of his fingers like they were anchors. A rushing worker nearly bumped into her. She froze instantly, legs locked, breath tight. Turan placed a gentle hand on her back. "You're all right," he said. "I'm right here." Scifi started moving again, tiny steps at first. Nara watched her, voice calm but stern. "The council will test how she reacts with you. Don't let them rush her." "They won't," Turan said. They reached the tall doors of the interview sector. White walls, cold lights, air that smelled of disinfectant and authority. Scifi squeezed his fingers harder. "Do they take children away if guardians fail?" she whispered. Turan knelt to her level. "They take children away only when adults stop showing up," he said. "And I'm not stopping." She nodded slowly, half trusting, half afraid to believe. Nara placed her hand gently on Scifi's back. "Stay close to us. They will try to see if this bond is real." Scifi looked up at Turan again. "If they ask me questions, do I talk, or do you talk?" "We take turns," he said. "I'll know when to speak. And you speak when you feel ready." She breathed out, small and shaky. The door slid open with a long mechanical hiss. Turan stood tall. Nara straightened beside him. Scifi clung to his fingers like her life depended on it. They stepped inside together. Whatever waited behind that door, Turan was ready to fight it for her. The door slid open with a cool hiss. A colder draft swept out, sterile air mixed with the faint scent of old paperwork. The interview chamber was circular, bright, and silent. Too silent. A curved table stood at the center. Behind it sat three officials. A sharp-faced human inspector. A pale blue-veined alien woman. A medic with a scanner already in hand. Scifi hesitated at the threshold. Turan didn't push her forward. He simply stepped inside first and waited until she was ready. She pressed herself against his leg and followed. "Mr. Soul," the lead inspector said. "You filed a bond request yesterday. Very fast." Turan stood straight. "I made a choice." "We'll see," the inspector muttered. The alien woman pointed to the chairs. "Sit. Child stays between guardian and caseworker." Turan sat. Scifi climbed into the seat beside him, knees pulled up, feet not reaching the ground. Nara sat on the other side, her posture calm but alert. The medic leaned forward with his scanner. A soft blue light passed over Scifi's body. She flinched, but Turan angled slightly toward her, not blocking, just protecting. "No injuries," the medic said. "But stress is high." Turan nodded once. "She ate real breakfast today," Nara added quietly. She relaxed only after seeing him. The lead inspector lifted his tablet. "Mr. Soul, you are single. No partner. No family. No species experience. Why adopt a hybrid child with trauma history?" Scifi's fingers curled around Turan's sleeve again. Her breathing quickened. Turan didn't break eye contact with the inspector. "Because she asked for someone to stay," he said. "And I chose to stay." The alien inspector leaned forward. "You've known her for one day. That is not enough to form judgment." Turan answered calmly. "You can learn a lot in one day if you're paying attention." The lead inspector switched his focus. "Scifi," he said, "why him?" She froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Nara placed a gentle hand on her back. "Speak if you want. No pressure." Scifi swallowed, voice small but clear. "He came back," she whispered. "Others don't." The inspectors exchanged glances, caught off guard by the honesty. The alien woman asked, "Do you feel safe with him?" Scifi nodded fast. "He doesn't walk away when I talk." The medic noted the response with an approving hum. The lead inspector looked at Nara next. "You added yourself to his support network. Explain." Nara didn't flinch. "I supervised hybrids for 7 years. I know when a bond is real." He listens. She responds. "That's why." The inspector narrowed his eyes. "And your personal involvement? Your frequent contact with him could be misinterpreted." Nara's jaw tightened. "My work is professional." Before she could say more, Turan spoke. "She stays because she's the one who protected Scifi first," he said. "This has nothing to do with anything else." Nara looked at him. Just a brief glance, but something warm flickered behind her eyes. A silent thank you. The inspectors whispered among themselves. Then the lead one stood. We will now conduct an environment check, he said. Immediately, Sani's breath hitched. Am I going with him? Yes, Taran said before anyone else could answer. You're not leaving my side. The inspectors walked toward the door. Taran helped Sani down from the chair. She gripped his fingers instantly. Nara placed her hand gently on the girl's back. They only want to see if his home is safe, she explained. Nothing scary. Sani didn't answer. She just pressed closer to Taran. Together, the three of them followed the council out of the cold room and into the brighter hallway. And as the lift approached, Taran lowered his voice and spoke to Sani alone. I'm right here. No matter what they check. I stay with you. She nodded, breath shaking, but her grip firm. They stepped into the lift. The doors closed. The real test had begun. The lift doors opened on Ring C with a soft chime. Warm lights washed over the walkway, and the quiet smell of cooked food drifted from nearby homes. The station felt calmer here, less metal, more life. But Sani stayed tense. She held Taran's fingers tightly, her small hand trembling each time a passerby looked at her for too long. Nara walked beside her, keeping pace with her short steps. The inspectors moved ahead quickly, expecting everyone to follow without hesitation. Taran didn't rush. He matched Sani's slow movements with steady patience. When they reached cabin 324, Taran unlocked the door. It slid open quietly, revealing a small, neat living space. Warm amber lights filled the room. Everything looked lived in, organized, safe. Sani stepped inside carefully, like she was entering a place she wasn't sure she was allowed to touch. The inspectors scanned the room with cold eyes. Minimal hazards, one said. Clean, another added. The lead inspector walked toward the sleeping area. Sleeping arrangements? Taran pointed to the platform near the corner. She'll have this bed. I'll use the fold-out until we adjust the space. Sani walked toward the bed, brushing her fingers along the soft blanket he bought for her the day before. She pressed her palm on it, as if testing whether it was real. Nara watched her quietly. The girl's movements were slow, careful, almost sacred. Taran opened a drawer. Inside were 2 small sleep shirts and a thin teal blanket. I got these for her, he said. The inspectors didn't comment, but one of them wrote it down. Sani looked up at Taran. You bought that for me? Yes, he said simply. Her eyes softened, filled with something between surprise and hope. The lead inspector cleared his throat. We will finish the report this afternoon. Until then, the child returns to the dorm. Sani froze. Her fingers dug into Taran's sleeve. No, she whispered. Please don't make me go without him. Nara stepped forward. Forcing separation will destabilize her. Let him walk her halfway. The inspector hesitated, annoyed. Then, reluctantly, he nodded. Halfway. No farther. Sani didn't let go of Taran's hand as they left the cabin. Her grip was tighter now, desperate. They walked slowly toward the dorm sector. Taran leaned down, keeping his voice low and steady. After they decide, Sani whispered, Will I stay with you? Yes, he said. That's the goal. You won't change your mind? He stopped in the hallway, knelt, and looked her straight in the eyes. No, not today. Not ever. Her breath shook, but a tiny flicker of trust lit her face. At the halfway marker, the inspector raised his hand. This is far enough. Sani didn't let go. Her fingers clung harder, nails pressing into Taran's skin. Nara stepped between them and lowered her voice gently. Sani, I'll take you. He'll meet you again soon. Sani's grip tightened once more, then slowly, painfully, released. She slipped her hand into Nara's. Her white hair swayed as she turned. Before walking away, she looked back at Taran one last time. You'll be there when they tell us? I'll be waiting right outside, he said. She nodded once, small, shaky, but trusting. Nara guided her down the corridor, her shawl swaying behind her. Taran watched until they disappeared around the corner. Only then did he exhale, the weight of separation hitting him hard. He turned and walked back toward the council sector, steps steady, jaw set. He wasn't doing this for paperwork. He wasn't doing this for approval. He was doing this for a little girl who finally dared to hope. And he intended to bring her home. Taran returned to the council hallway and stood near the wall, arms crossed, back straight. The corridor buzzed with quiet footsteps and soft voices, but none of it touched him. His focus stayed locked on the closed chamber door. He replayed Sani's last look. The fear, the trust, the silent plea. Don't leave me. He wouldn't. Minutes stretched. Staff passed by with tablets, reports, sealed files. No one spoke to him. Finally, the door opened and Nara stepped out. She now wore her full uniform. Her hair tied tight, her shoulders firm, but her eyes carried tired strain. "Turan," she said softly. "They're ready for you." He followed her inside. The chamber lights were brighter. The inspectors had spread files across the table, footage from the adoption pavilion, Taran's service record, counseling reports, even morning interaction scans. Taran stood before them, hands behind his back. The lead inspector spoke first. "Your home passed all safety standards. Now we need clarity on your long-term intentions." "My intentions are simple," Taran said. "To raise her." The alien inspector leaned forward. "Why her? Why a hybrid child with trauma? Why not an easier case?" Taran didn't hesitate. Because she didn't need easy. She needed someone who wouldn't disappear. The lead inspector tapped his tablet. "You're a single human male adopting an Arini girl. That brings complications, social, political, even biological. Are you prepared for that?" "Yes," Taran said. "I don't fold because someone frowns." Nara watched him with quiet approval. The medic switched screens. "We analyzed the child's reactions. Her stress drops around you. She trusts you unusually fast." Taran sighed. "That's not unusual. That's called finally feeling safe." The alien inspector spoke again. "Fast attachment can be dangerous." Taran answered calmly. "Indifference is more dangerous." A brief silence. Even the inspectors had no comeback for that. Then they turned to Nara. "You added yourself to his support network," the lead inspector said. "Explain." Nara straightened. "I've worked with hybrids for 7 years. I know real bonds. I know guardian collapse. Taran is stable, and she responds to him. That's why I added myself." "And your personal involvement?" One pressed. "Visits to his home may be misinterpreted." Nara's jaw tightened. "My support is professional." Before she could say more, Taran stepped forward slightly. "She is involved because she's the one who protected the child first," he said. "She stays because the child trusts her. Nothing more." Nara glanced at him, quick, unexpected, grateful. The inspectors exchanged a final look. "We will recess for 30 minutes, the lead one said. "Council will vote." Taran and Nara stepped outside. The door closed behind them. The corridor felt smaller than before. Nara leaned against the wall, exhaling. "They cornered you hard." "They tried," Taran said. "Didn't work." She studied him for a moment. "You handle pressure well. Most guardians break on day 1. I'm not most guardians." Nara's voice softened. "Good. Because after this, Sani's world changes in 1 day. That's why I'm here," Taran said. Nara lowered her gaze, thinking. "She trusts you too fast. It scares me." "It scares me too," Taran said quietly. "That's why I can't fail her." Nara's eyes softened. "You won't." A soft chime sounded. 30 minutes were up. The door opened again. The lead inspector appeared. "Bring the child. Both of you will receive the results together." Nara straightened instantly. "Let's go." They took the lift to the lower dorm. Sani waited on the bench, legs tucked under her, eyes staring at the floor. Her head snapped up the second she saw Taran. "Is it time?" she whispered. "Yes," he said, offering his hand. "Come with us." She slid her hand into his immediately. Nara led them back toward the chamber. Sani's grip tightened with every step. Inside the chamber, all 3 inspectors stood. Sani pressed close to Taran, half hidden behind him. The lead inspector lifted the tablet. Based on environment review, guardian capability, caregiver testimony, and child response, the council grants conditional approval for the bond to continue. Sani gasped. Nara closed her eyes in relief. Sani looked up at Taran with wide, trembling hope. "Does that mean I get to go home with you?" Taran knelt, steady and sure. "It means we start building that home today." Her fingers curled into his shirt. For the first time, she didn't whisper out of fear, but out of belief. The chamber door closed behind them with a final mechanical click. But this time, the sound wasn't cold. It felt like a door opening somewhere else. Sani held Taran's hand with both of hers as they stepped into the hallway. Not fearful, just afraid the moment might disappear if she blinked. Nara walked beside them, keeping her pace slow. For once, she didn't hide the relief in her eyes. "Where do we go now?" Sani asked, voice small but steady. "We get your things," Nara said. "Whatever you want to bring." Sani nodded, though her gaze remained fixed on Taran, as if she needed to make sure he was still there every second. They took the lift to the dorm level. The doors opened into a quiet hallway filled with soft lights. Most children were in lessons now. Inside the dorm, Scifi walked to her small cubicle. The space looked even smaller now that she knew she wouldn't be sleeping there much longer. She touched her blanket. She opened her drawer. Then she froze. "What do I take?" she whispered. Taran stepped behind her, gentle but firm. "Only what feels important. Not what the rules told you to keep." Scifi looked down at the items. A bent hairbrush, a thin blanket, 2 old tunics. She picked up the hairbrush first. Nara knelt beside her. "You use it every night," Nara said softly. "It matters." Scifi placed it carefully into the small transfer bag. Then she folded the blanket with slow, precise movements, almost ceremonial. When she turned around, there were tiny tears at the corners of her eyes. "Is this really happening?" she asked. "It is," Taran said. "You're coming home with me. We'll make it yours piece by piece." She nodded and slung the bag over her shoulder. It hung too big, but she didn't mind. On their way out, she stopped suddenly. "Can I say goodbye to the nurse?" Nara blinked, surprised. "If you want to." Scifi hurried to the corner where an older caretaker sorted supplies. The woman looked startled when the girl bowed her head. "Thank you," Scifi whispered, "for letting me take extra blankets on cold nights." The caretaker's eyes softened. "You deserved warm nights, little one." Scifi bowed again and ran back to Taran, gripping his hand instantly. They took the lift up to Ring C. When the door opened, warm scents of cooked food filled the air. Vendors prepared lunches, steaming trays glowing under heat lamps. Scifi inhaled deeply. "It smells good here." "It's different from the dorms," Taran said. They reached his cabin. He stepped aside, letting her enter first. Scifi paused at the doorway, staring at the room like she was stepping into another world. Then she walked in, slow, amazed, almost floating. "This is your home," she whispered. "And now it's yours too," Taran said. She placed her bag beside her new sleeping platform, touched the blanket he bought for her, sat on the padded seat by the viewport, and watched the swirling gas giant below. Nara placed her shawl on a wall hook and watched the child settle. Scifi's voice was soft. "Can I stay today?" "You can stay all day," Taran said. "As long as you want." She smiled, small, shaky but real. The first real smile he had seen from her. As she ate her meal, she leaned against Taran's arm, warm and relaxed. When she finished, she asked quietly, "What do I call you?" Taran paused. "Call me Taran. And later, when something else feels right, you can choose that too." She nodded, thinking. Her tiny fingers curled into his sleeve again. "Can I call you when I'm scared?" "You already can," he said. The room fell into a peaceful silence. Nara stood near the counter, watching both of them, something soft growing in her eyes too. Hours passed. Scifi explored every corner of the cabin, touching drawers, buttons, vents, fabrics, testing the world she could finally belong to. Then she wrapped herself in the soft comfort blanket Taran gave her and sat beside him again. "I want to stay until the lights dim," she whispered. "You will," Taran said. "Tomorrow too." She rested her head against him. For the first time in her life, sleep came without fear. Taran placed his hand gently on her back. Nara whispered from across the room. "She finally feels safe." Taran didn't look away from the sleeping girl. "She finally has a home."